This is the DTV Digest, the podcast that brings you news and reviews of films which didn't make it to the cinema. And now, here's your host, Mike Parkin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DTV Digest. I'm your host, Mike Parkin, and join me, as usual, are Richard Hawes.
Hello, everyone.
And Stephen Lockridge.
Hello.
This week, we've got three main reviews to talk about. We're going to kick off with the Korean disaster movie Project Silence. Then we have the low-budget In Tenebras. And we're going to wind up with Transers Noir. It'll be interesting to talk about that one later on. Our short shot is from the Art School Dropouts called Going Viral. And our DTV throwback is the cult classic New York Ninja. So without further ado, let's crack on. Our first film then is Project Silence. When a car crashes on a fog-laden bridge, it not only leaves several motorists stranded, but sets them at the mercy of a dozen genetically engineered military attack dogs. Rich, are you familiar with Train to Busan?
I haven't seen it, but I was wondering, are there similarities to this particular film with that? But yeah, I do need to see that.
Yeah, the main similarity, because they are very different kinds of movies, but both of them have a similar protagonist in that he's a bit of a shit at the beginning of the film, and he has to go through a bit of sort of introspection, and through adversity he realizes what's important to him and all the rest of it. Because at the start of this, he's an aide to the home, the equivalent of the Home Secretary in Korea. And there's a hostage situation. He's going, oh no, it's too late, don't worry about it, they're probably already dead by now anyway. There's no point sort of throwing more lives after them, which isn't a particularly popular opinion with the opposition, but his boss loves it. And he finds himself taking his daughter on a trip because she's going to study abroad, and basically he's offloading her so he can concentrate on his career. That's the sort of reading between the lines of it. But we get this inciting incident where this idiot motorist is speeding in his sports car, causes this horrific accident, which then strands everyone, as well as this military convoy carrying these dogs. It is by the numbers, and I wish there'd been more of the dogs myself, to sort of show how intelligent they were and that sort of thing. But they are, a decent threat anyway. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's one of those things where you got various characters and you're wondering who's going to survive. So yeah, I did sort of enjoy this one a lot. How about yourself, Rich?
I did. I think it's quite decently budgeted, but there's certain part. I mean, because most of it takes place at night on a bridge, a lot of it does feel shot in a soundstage where they actually haven't had to put anything in the background because it's just black. So there's certain parts of it just feel a bit cheaper because of that. I think if it was like daytime and stuff, it would have been a lot more visually interesting. But most horror threats are at night, so that's understandable that they've done that. It kind of feels to me like it's been put together from different elements. So there was one of the Final Destination films, I think it was the fifth one, had a whole bridge sequence.
Oh yeah, that was good.
And actually combined that, but the first thing that came to mind for me was Final Destination 2 with the car pileup scene. So there's a little bit of the setup is kind of the sort of inciting incident. It all one thing leads to another, and then it all kind of had that Final Destination kind of feel to it. And then by the end of it, I mean, you got the different disaster movies and Train to Busan and all that sort of thing. But then there was also Rise of the Planet of the Apes with the bit on the Golden Gate Bridge. The whole end sequence of that film came to mind as well.
I've not seen any of the modern ape films at all.
Have you not?
I
do recommend them. I thought I did like Rise a lot. So yeah, the end sequence of that is all the Golden Gate Bridge and stuff. And I thought there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. I thought the visual effects on the dogs was very, very good, especially when I compared it to because the most recent comparison was Rippy. And how ropey that was, and how detrimental that was, unfortunately, to the film.
Yes.
This one, it could have easily gone wrong when you've got CGI to that extent, because they might have used some real dogs. I couldn't honestly tell, but there might have been dogs really involved in it. But some of the CGI is obvious at times. But if there's some of that CGI was actually not CGI, I wouldn't have been surprised. I thought it was really good quality. The dogs are very, it's very kind of topical with the XL bully thing and stuff happening at the moment. These really, really muscular dogs. I don't know what breed these are, but they're very tough. There was a film back in the mid 2000s. It was more of a teen horror thing, really, but it was called The Breed with Michelle Rodriguez.
That's an Australian film, isn't it?
I can't remember. I know it had Americans in it, but it was kind of a cabin in the woods kind of movie.
That's right. Yeah. There was on a farm or something. Yeah.
Dogs. Yeah. This one is obviously much more expansive with all the stuff with the political backdrop and the guy's position in the government, all that sort of stuff. It did make me think a little bit of like a Shin Godzilla or something, and there's little bits of that. So every character's got their arc. We're introduced to a whole bunch of characters, and they're the ones we're going to follow. There's the big cull, basically, because they got all the people trapped on the bridge, but we can't follow all of them. So what do you have to do? You have to have the dogs basically kill most of them, and then you've got a few people left. I like them. There's the colourful character who's like the con artist, and
the tow truck driver. Yeah,
he's basically he steals the film from all because he's the kind of comic reliefy kind of character, and the other, especially the protagonist, he's not a very likable guy. He's very serious, so you counterpoint that to a guy who's supposedly worse, but in reality, that's they're trying to draw a comparison there of, is he that bad really? I mean, is the other guy just in denial because he's actually?
Well, there's that interesting bit at the beginning as well, where because that tow truck driver is sort of also acting as the sort of gas attendant, isn't he? The gas pump guy.
Yeah,
and he doesn't believe him. He goes, you're just trying to rip me off. And then you find out like a minute after he drives off that he was actually telling the truth. And the garage owner's like having a go at him, going, "Well, where's the money? He's supposed to collect the money off the customers." He drove off, can't do anything. Yeah, so that was interesting as well, sort of playing with people's expectations.
Yeah, it's a very lively sci-fi inflected disaster scenario kind of thing. It's nothing you haven't seen before. Good production values, the kind of production values we expect from North Korean North Korean. What am I talking about? South Korean blockbusters. There's no North Korean blockbusters, but the of these styles of films. I haven't actually watched a Korean film for quite a while, and it did make me think I'm really missing out. I should really watch more of their stuff. The Bunch of Survivors, I would say, I like the characters. The bridge falling apart was quite cool. I would say all the visual effects and stuff. There's a nice. As you pointed out, an exploding
helicopter. Yeah,
it annoyed me because it was like I was watching it, and the helicopter, it's a big, scene, and then they basically forget about it for a while, and then it's like, well, hang on a minute, are we going to come back to it because the helicopter didn't actually explode, and we don't actually know. It was kind of setting something up. All the cables were getting, ripped into by the thing, and nothing happens for a long time, and then it's like, oh yeah, this thing's going to pay off now. But it was kind of like it was almost.
I suppose that's the thing. I suppose with a bridge that big, things do happen slowly. It's going to take a while for it to crumble, I guess.
I just wish they'd have done a close up when because like when
it's missing
it's
a
like
couple of
quite
things
far
like
away
that.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But say I don't think this is really spoiling anything to say this, but there's a lot of fun here. I think I like the dogs. We got the stupid sort of cowardly characters and sort of the older characters who think it's stock stuff, but it's really enjoyable, good production values, and I think those who like this kind of action sort of disaster scenario will have a really good time with it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an interesting thing as well. I mean, there seems to be a theme with a lot of sort of Korean films in their sort of distrust of the government.
Mm-hmm.
And any sort of bureaucrat is basically either on the take or got their own sort of selfish agenda.
Well, we've had
Basically.
like the impeachment or whatever
Well,
going on
exactly. Yeah,
recently.
that's what I mean. It's like no wonder their films reflect that, and it does kind of make me wonder what sort of films we're going to get out of Hollywood in the next couple of years. And going to go down that sort of route. We're going to end up, well, let's face it, it's going to be all post-apocalyptic, wasteland movies probably. God knows. It'd be like that film I really like called The Domestics. It all boils down to that sort of thing. Anyway, what are you going to score it, Rich?
I am gonna. It's a 7, but it's a high 7.
Mm.
I definitely think it's really good. Really good. I say it's not breaking any new ground, but it's brisk. It's it's efficient, and the dog's great. You're right. There should be more dogs in it. More dog footage.
It is one of those sort of high concept sort of blockbusters. There was a film another Korean film that came out a few years ago, and I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head, but it was about a volcano erupting, and this team had to go in to retrieve some data from an outpost or something like that, and unfortunately that didn't live up to the premise of what it was sort of setting up, but I think this does. I think this sort of does nail it. By and large, it could have done a bit more. At the beginning where Echo 9 who's the lead dog, gets rid of the microchip embedded in its head. Showing its intelligence there.
It's only now that you're saying that I actually picked up. I didn't actually pick up on it when I was watching the film. If that's what she was doing.
Well, the only reason I picked up is there's a book I read called The Great Zoo of China.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
by
Matthew
Riley. It's a great book. It is. It's one of his best. But there's a whole thing in there about the dragons in it, getting rid of their chip by basically ripping their own ears off, to do it. And that sort of cued me in, going, I know what he's doing. Yeah. But no, it's a lot of fun. It's out on Blu-ray, it's out on DVD, it's out on to rent online. We recommend checking it out. It's 2 7s from us. Go check it out. Our next review is In Tenebras, Into the Darkness. Within the rock of Gibraltar's labyrinthine World War II tunnels lies a deadly secret, and when 3 siblings break in to investigate, they unwittingly unleash hell on Earth. Okay, so I kind of had high hopes for this when the film starts, because whoever the second unit director is was doing a damn good job of filming, sort of establishing shots. The whole thing with the boats at the beginning was all great. It was looking really professional. I was getting excited for what was going to go down. And then Michael Paré goes, go, 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 and the film comes off its rails. It really does. It was just a shame. I don't really know what to say about this film, guys. I really don't. We covered a film a couple of weeks ago, BRI.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a low budget film. Like really, really low budget, and it struggled. But in certain key areas, it did okay for itself. One being its action shots. I thought they were actually pretty decent. What it didn't have was anything else. This has some brilliant locations, There's a particular shot on this where one of the characters comes out of a tunnel, and they're like right at the top of the mountain, and the camera is sort of swooping round to catch the view of the city of Gibraltar below them, and it looks fantastic, But then they go back in the tunnels again. And it goes shit, because people start talking again. It's a mixture of, okay, it's low budget. You're going to get low budget actors. I understand that, but it is the script in this which really sort of drives me nuts. I'm 99% certain this script was just written by AI. It is so by the numbers. Every word that comes out of these people's mouths is just so by the numbers. It's like somebody hit send or hit enter on their computer and the thing wrote itself. That's how it feels, which is a shame. Steve, what did you make of In Tenebras, Into the Darkness?
It's terrible. It is awful. I agree with every single word you said. When it starts off, like you say, I mean, obviously they filmed in Gibraltar, and the drone shots are stunning. They look great. And you think, right, here we go. They've actually got a bit of money behind this. No, they haven't. They've got no money, no actors, and every single thing is terrible about it. It's one of the worst films we've seen for a long while, I think. I mean, there's one point where the military get involved and she's took the female soldiers in the control room or whatever. And she says something like, says to her daughter, "Oh, do you like, how's it feel seeing mummy work?" And she starts going on, who's my dad?
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, what? Where's this come from? You're in the middle of a military operation. You don't start saying, "Who's my dad? Where's he from? I never knew my dad. It's all your fault."
Yeah, not in the office.
Yeah. I mean, even like something like the siblings, and they're like two of them are brother and sister, and one of them's like a half brother or something. And then they're going through these tunnels, and they start arguing about the dad who's just died. You never knew him. No, you don't. It's ridiculous. And to say the acting is below par is just it's terrible. I was sitting there like nearly pulling my teeth out because it was just so bad. Oh God. I mean, even like, to be fair, it's quite an interesting story. Like something cursed on it. It might be the actual plague, and they think it might be coming from an alien source, and it's going to unleash it across the world. Oh, okay, fair. I can run with that, but not when it's like this. Not when it's just so. I mean, even when someone turns into a zombie and he's supposedly biting someone's face off, they pull the face away. There's no bite mark there or anything like that. It's like he's just licked him. It's just, I don't know how. Like you say, it is like the script is just AI, and they've not even done a second pass at it. They've just whacked it together. Thought, yeah, there we go, that'll do, and gone and shot it. And it's like, how? I don't know how anyone. I mean, and I've just been looking at the reviews on IMDb. Have you seen them?
No.
I've seen the one that says it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, there's like 4 reviews and they're all 10 out of 10. And I'm like, yeah, they've definitely been planted. Yeah.
Welcome to planet Earth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, Rich. So Steve and I have, put our laundry out there. What did you make of In Tenebras?
Well, I kind of love this because I think it's got that quality of like a Diamond Cartel or Code of
It
Cain.
does.
Or
That's
something.
yes. I really wanted to put that in the chat when I mentioned it yesterday. Well, I tried to be coy, but I'm sure both of you knew exactly what film I was talking about. But
I
yes,
didn't yet
it's
because I
on that
hadn't watched it
level.
at that point, but
All right.
it got me excited because I wasn't going to watch it, and then I was like, I've got to stay up until 2 a.m. to watch this thing.
Jesus.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, it's your you have the floor.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I did think. I mean, as you were saying with like the AI sort of thing, the script has got that kind of inhuman kind of interactions. Nobody talks that way. Very cliched statements and questions, and but the way the dialogue is, and the way it's said, performed, it's just so awkward and unnatural that it's just kind of fascinating. It's like almost like almost every line is quotable. Out of some all the stuff with the family dynamic, the two brothers and the sister, basically, who all have different accents, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just, and they don't fit together at all. And and they like Steve was saying about the family drama stuff. And it's like, oh, there's got to be a bit of family drama. Oh, and then they're going to fix it up. And oh no, it's going to be broken apart again. And this all happens in like just the space of a few minutes. All those lines. I mean, there was one point where the lead guy, who's the kind of YouTuber vlogger guy, who's sort of leading it. He said, I had to write it down. He said he was trying to get help, and he said, "I'm in desperate need of an emergency." And I'm like, could they not do another take? It's just like, it's fascinating. And like you say, all those drone shots look amazing. I mean, the credits are interesting because the drone operator gets, as several other people who wouldn't normally get titled at the front of the film, get a credit. So the drone person does. There's a tunnel gaffer credited on the opening of the film and stuff, which I thought was quite fascinating. But yeah, the drone person really did do their job because there's I mean, it's partial travel log, this, because the guy who made it, the writer director Martin Noosa, is a travel video guy. You look at his IMDb, all his previous credits. He has produced and executive produced and directed some narrative films, but most of his work is, segments for TV, documentaries and stuff. And a lot of that stuff is related to Gibraltar, related to the Operation Tracer, which is integral to this story, and other elements of the Second World War stuff. So, at the start of the film, it says inspired by true events, and that's what he's basing it. He's basing it off this local history stuff.
Yeah.
And he's kind of running it with it, and you can tell this is a passion project for the guy. And it's like one of those passion projects for somebody who's really trying hard, but just it's kind of Ed Wooding it. It's just so I admire what he's trying to do. It's just, unfortunately, he's faltering. But what's crazy, I mean, you've got some good actors in there. So you've got Michael Paré and Costas Mandylor. Costas Mandylor is doing a crazy accent. I don't know what I think he's supposed to be playing British or something. But he's definitely not doing, because Costas Mandylor is Australian, and he usually plays Americans. He's usually always doing an American accent, and his American accent's really good. But this accent was just a bit crazy, and he's got this really weird haircut and moustache kind of combo. So anyway, so Steve was saying some of the acting is below par, and I was thinking below pare. But the opening of the film with the whole speedboat sequence has no relevance to the rest of the film. It's like they put this speedboat action sequence in there. It's got no connection to anything, as far as I'm aware, apart from to have a bit of action.
It's weird, isn't it? Because this team are, at the beginning, they're, I don't know, sort of working like DEA kind of scenario, sort of stopping drug runners or kidnappers, and then they're supposed to be part of some elite force that's protecting this weird thing inside the Rock of Gibraltar. It's all over the place.
They need something to do in the meantime, don't they? But Jesus.
It does make me think. I mean, just as we're talking about it, that kind of reminds me a little. I mean, other films have done it, but like Black Site, Tom Payton's film, how that was like this military sort of unit, sort of tasked with looking after this portal and stuff like that. But the yeah, so you got this low budget sort of travel loggy kind of stuff, which reminded me of like Rene Perez films when he does like, oh, let me shoot my film in your water park. And we'll do some like montages and stuff, and that will give me the funds to make the rest of the film. So in this one, we get a scene that takes place on a Sunborn Yacht Hotel. We've got one of these in London as well. But the lead, the vlogger guy, you know, he's wearing the robe with the logo on and everything. And then later on, there's this Calypso Tours.
That's right. Yeah,
that's mentioned a couple of times, and they actually get into a van and they drive the Calypso Tours van around, and there's a whole sort of comical sequence there that's really not necessary, but they kind of added it in. Again, it just seems like they've got some funds from from these sources, and it did make me wonder: is Calypso Tours like a company that Martin Noosa runs? I don't know. I couldn't find any connection, but he's almost certainly got connections on Gibraltar. You know, he's been working there for a long time. I don't know if he's local. I'm not sure, because he does a lot of things. He writes novels and other things as well. But the film itself, oh, by the way, Devil's Night, which you guys talked about a few weeks ago, he was an executive producer on that. Bunker 717 was another film that came to mind. Do you remember the?
Yeah, that was that German? So the set in Berlin or something.
And they went into the tunnels, but there was a Nazi living down there, and so that came to mind. Yeah, all the zombie-ish sort of stuff, and then they do this old exposition, sci-fi, you know, bit of spaceship footage kind of stuff, and it was reminding me a little bit of John Carpenter in terms of its influences. And when I thought about that, the film that came to mind in terms of the concept that it was trying to reach for was Ghosts of Mars, which I thought was a funny one, because Ghosts of Mars is one of John Carpenter's least liked film, but the whole concept
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Yeah, but they sort of unleash this, you know, evil that then takes over people and changes them. That's what happens in this film.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
it's the same thing. So the Second World War tunnels stuff, that was quite interesting. The the combination of factors, the bad acting and bad dialogue. I mean, through all those scenes with those three family members, was just it's priceless. I mean, so I would watch it again at some point to sort of just absorb that a bit more, because I saw it's so unnatural and awkward and that, but oddly fascinating. Combine that with the travelogue stuff, and you know, Gibraltar's quite an interesting location. I've never really seen it on film before that I can come to mind. So it presents Gibraltar beautifully, I think, in terms of some of the locations.
I totally agree. Absolutely agree with that. Which is why it's not going to get the lowest, the lowest score I was planning to give it. It does have a couple of saving graces. I mean, the best scene in the film for me, funny enough, was when Michael Paré converses with sort of the lead zombie kind of thing, and you find out what he's up to. I thought that was probably the best moment of the film in terms of, you know, actually watchable stuff.
You don't get a lot of Paré, do you? Because it's like he's in at the beginning and at the end. But then the other thing about Paré, you got that intro scene, the action scene, and they all go like go go go. That's all really weird. And then they're firing the guns, but obviously it's all fake muzzle flashes. And I swear they go in to rescue the hostages, and they're literally spraying everywhere. And I'm thinking those hostages would be dead.
I think did they say that one of the hostages was killed or something?
Yeah. I'm not surprised. It wasn't a very efficient. Anyway, it's quite funny. And then the tough second in command, you know, woman, and like you say, why is she having those? There's those weird conversations in the control room and stuff, but that doesn't go anywhere.
No,
doesn't go anywhere at all. And
because her daughter disappears from that point onwards. So.
Yeah. Oh, you got? Do you remember the throwback Reptilian?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of. I felt like that was another film that came to mind. You know, a film that's made in the English language that it's like wasn't. You know, it was made by somebody who doesn't speak English, so it's I've kind of got this English as a second language kind of an idea of what a film, a Hollywood film should be. But the icing on the cake is this movie has no ending. It just ends without any conclusion whatsoever. It's like you've got to wait for part 2, which is which I believe they're trying to raise fund for. It's called Timelines.
Yeah.
In Tenebras 2 Timelines, and the director Martin News has got big ambitions for it. I read in an interview. So this is a quote. He says, "In Tenebras 2 Timelines is my next big project, and it's an epic production spanning along 3 different time zones in history. The cold horror of the Western Front in 1918, to the mystery of the German U-boat in World War II, to Tutankhamun in ancient Egypt, in the land of the pharaohs."
That is ambitious.
That is very ambitious, and I don't think it's going to come off very well. But I really, really hope he makes it, because I want to see more of this. I was like, this is not good by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the most entertaining, failure that I've seen for ages. I was up late, I could have gone to sleep, and I was just thinking, no, I'm really interested in what's happening here, in everything. So it's just one of those curious. I mean, had Kevin Costner did like his American, I can't remember what the
Horizon.
Horizon, part 1. It's like this guy's got his idea, his vision of this like multi-part story or 2-part story that he's going to do, and I was like, the fact that he's not concluded his first film. I
thought he had filmed part 2. It's just they hadn't released it.
Maybe I have. Yeah, I haven't seen any like scenes or stills from the production itself. Only like there's some like promotional art.
Right.
And this is on an interview that he did quite recently, quite a long interview that I found from February. This say the month we're recording. The interview on a website called Medium. So I haven't had a chance to read the whole interview, but it's got this guy going into his.
That'd be very good.
Going into his stuff, but I mean, big. He's putting all his heart and soul and his money into this. This thing that's, because the funny thing is when you start watching the credits, how many times his name turns up. It says like a Martin Noosa production, and then and then a couple of other credits, and then
directed by, edited by. Yeah.
Well, I think it says a Martin Noosa Productions film, and then the title comes up, and then it says a Martin Noosa production, and then he's done other. He's the DOP as well, and the writer and stuff. So he's clearly throwing it. He's going all in on this, and he wants people to know it. And I'd say there's something I find really admirable about it, and the fact that it's so curious. It's just like it's fascinating. Sorry, I'm waffling, but it's like really.
It is up there with the likes of the Kane Code and Diamond Cartel. It is one of those sort of
the Serpent, a bit the one about the Russian model.
Fascinating train wrecks, is basically. But I mean, I kind of do hope he makes part 2 and we do get to review it. But forewarned is forearmed, and I shall make sure I've got a ton of alcohol on hand so I can appreciate it properly.
I was never bored by it though. That's the thing. I was like, I mean, okay. I was scrolling on my phone, trying to look up Martin Noosa, and sorry, was it? Yeah, Martin Noosa. And so, but I do that a lot. Unfortunately, I do get very distracted, and I don't always. I mean, I do that. So that's not anything to do with the film. So I was very interested and entertained by every moment of the film and what was happening. Almost like I can't believe what I'm watching, kind of thing. I'd say I hope he gets to do the next one, and it would be amazing if he got to do ancient Egypt and stuff, and that. Say how that's going to look, I don't know, but I hope he's successful.
Do the Carry On Cleo sets still exist? I don't know, maybe.
Oh, poor sound. The film has some really poor sound at times. Some of it's like echoey and weird sort of vibrational sounds and stuff. So that's another weird quality to it. It's just like some of it is quite polished, and then other bits like really rough. And so it's like BRI really came to mind because that did the same thing.
Yeah.
BRI had some bad sound.
BRI I think BRI sits slightly above this, just slightly.
No, not for me. Not for me. This is above BRI for me. No.
Right. Okay. And the thing is, I do not enjoy being detrimental to low budget films. I think, people should be out there making films, but write your bloody script. Don't leave it to a fucking computer to do. That's what this film feels like. Yeah.
I don't give a shit. If it's shit, it's shit.
One of the other films he made as a producer was called Adrenaline with Lewis Mandel. He's made a couple of films with the Mandalores. He made another one with Costas. Adrenaline, which is on YouTube, and I've only watched the beginning, but that has kind of a similar element. It's just almost like unbelievably bad.
Right.
It's like some of the dialogue and like some of the actions of the characters, and it just doesn't make any sense. And I want to watch the rest of it because, but yeah, that's an Italian production. I think that was sort of an Italian production with Lewis Mandalore. So I do want to. I just thought it was interesting that he keeps working with like some of the same actors. Like I know he's worked with Robert Lasardo or at least the productions that he's been involved with have involved the Mandalores, Robert Lasardo, and stuff.
How he was able to go, oh yeah, I'm making a film.
I don't know if he's worked with Michael Paré before, but Michael Paré is one of those guys who turn up all over the place. He's like Eric Roberts. He's a bit of an Eric Roberts.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
I want Eric Roberts in Tenebras too.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
I'm sure he would. Yeah, I'm sure he would be. Okay, I think we've kicked this one enough. How are you going to score it, Steve?
I'm giving it a 3 for the drone shots.
Yeah, Rich has kind of convinced me a little bit.
Well, I don't mind some of it being bad and fun, but
yeah. But it was torture. I mean, the whole reason I posted on our internal chat yesterday, and we don't tend to talk to each other about the films we're reviewing before we sit down, but I just had to vent. I literally just had to say something while I was watching it. I didn't want to put it on Blue Sky or anything like that. I didn't want to, start kicking a film before it's released, but I just needed to vent somehow, which is why I said that yesterday. But but I'm gonna give this one a 4. And Rich.
So I was going to be a bit more generous and give it a 6, but because of the entertainment value that I got from it, and I think other people will get out of it, I'm still going to have to go 7 on this one. I think in a way I enjoyed this more than Project Silence. So I'm going to say, I mean, if anything, I would actually watch this again. So which is more than I would do for maybe Project Silence. So normally if it's a film watching again twice, I would say 8, but because it is what it is, I'm going to say 7. But I think it's a generous 7, but I think it's also a worthy 7. I think there's a lot of entertainment value here.
Fair enough. Okay, so there we have it. Very different scores: a 3, a 4, and bizarrely a 7 for In Tenebras, Into the Darkness. Go check it out. Our next film is Transers Noir. This is the black and white version of Transers. Jack Deth is sent from the future to track down a super criminal who is able to turn people into sleeper agents who turn feral when activated. Wow. Okay, so, I remember seeing this on VHS donkeys ago. I remember hating it at the beginning. Even before that, I remember seeing posters for the film, like on billboards in London. And I was like really interested. What the hell is this? And then, me and a friend of mine rented it. And the whole beginning bit, I hated. I was laughing my head off going, oh my God, this is so shit. The whole bit in the diner at the beginning.
Yeah.
But eventually, I kind of got into it. And I actually went back and watched it a while later, because another friend of mine made me watch Transers 2, which is also excellent, and it made me sort of reappreciate the whole sort of film in itself. But listening to is it Charles Band who comes at the beginning of this? Yeah. Yeah, talking about how he wanted to do it originally as a black and white sort of film noir style, and then even though it was in color, he still framed it and filmed it as if it wasn't noir. You can really see it in this version, because it really does suit that black and white style. I thoroughly enjoyed this, probably even more than I did watching it in previous iterations. I absolutely loved it. Steve, what did you make of Transers Noir?
No, I've never seen it before.
Oh, haven't you? Okay.
No, I do remember it coming out and Transers 2 and 3 and stuff, because I just remember seeing the trailer on like every single video I rented at that point. And I was a bit, when I put it, because I was thinking, is it Transers? I mean, is it a new one or what? Because I didn't look into it. I just put it straight on, and then it comes up with little interview at the Q&A at the beginning, whatever it is, and then I'm like, okay, fair enough. And I'm a bit, I don't know if it brings anything new to it. Not having seen it originally. The colour version or anything like that, because it was like, did it a couple of years ago, didn't they, with like Logan and Mad Max Fury Road, where they released like a black and white version. And I'll be honest, I wasn't that bothered. I never watched them. I don't think it really brought anything to it in my eyes. But having said that, I did enjoy the film. It's a little bit rough and ready around the edges in parts, but what was it, 1984? You kind of expect that, especially with the visual effects and everything like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And it was very strange seeing Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
Oscar winner Helen Hunt in something like this, of nearly 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it's strange, but I think it does hold up. It's an interesting premise, and I think they do it quite well.
They certainly do. There's an actress in this who plays the young girl who's like, his boss transported back into her body.
Oh yeah.
Her acting is it wipes the floor with everything we saw in the previous film.
Yeah.
The whole thing where, because she's acting all sassy and stuff, I mean, it's her facial expressions and everything are perfect. That is somebody, I mean, she's probably been studying acting since she was like 2 or something stupid like that. But, she would have wiped the floor with anyone that was in the previous film, in Tenebras we were talking about. Rich, I'm sure that you're well versed in Transer lore and Charles Band and all the rest of it. How do you feel watching this this black and white version?
I think I've seen all 6 of the Transers films, but I don't remember them very well, and I don't actually know if I've properly watched 1 or 2 specifically. So this was almost like a first time watch for me, because I feel like I might have seen it before, but I can't say 100%. So it did feel fresh for that, and I will be trying to check out Transers 2, because this is free. This was made available free on YouTube, by the way, and so is Transers 2. Although that's not a black and white version at the moment. So the idea is, Charles Band was saying, we've selected some of our titles from the past Full Moon and Empire catalogs that we think will fit this, and we're releasing them. They've done a couple of films. A couple of their more recent films they released in black and white versions, and they kind of got a taste for it. And did
he say they were going to do 12? I think.
Yeah, something like
right,
that.
Yeah.
There's another one called The Creeps, which, as of recordings, just come out. Which is that's another perfect choice, because it's like a Universal Monsters throwback kind of thing. But the idea is that the Universal Monsters are all I don't know what the correct term is. Little people, short performers. So, what's his name? Oh, I'm forgetting the Phil Fondacaro, who's kind of one of Full Moon's kind of key players. He got to play Dracula in that, which is quite unusual to see. I mean, it's played for comic effect, but it's a good opportunity for actors who wouldn't normally get the spotlight to play some like key dramatic roles and stuff. So yeah, I think The Creeps is going to be an interesting one to see. Anyway, back to Trancers. What you were saying about that whole opening sequence set in the future and whatnot, I think that was the part that really lent itself best to the black and white treatment, in terms of it kind of having this throwback to old.
Yeah, so it does look quite sort of retro, this sort of diner and everything.
Yeah. Have you seen a film called Alphaville?
Yes. Yeah,
So so it's a French sort of fancy, a well-regarded sort of art house sci-fi film, but playing with the detective movie conventions and sci-fi and stuff. And that really came to mind with this when I was watching it. I was thinking, yeah, they've really got that kind of aesthetic that what Alphaville was playing with is kind of present here, and that's really obvious in the black and white version of this. Some of the shots just look really amazing in terms of their composition and the way they've graded it and updated it. Other parts of it just look like it's the film in black and white. It's just, there's nothing particularly special. I mean, the whole black and white versions thing it's been around for a while. I'm sure The Mist wasn't the first one to do it, but that's the one that I remember when Frank Darabont released an extra version of the film on the disc. And like you say, we've had Logan and stuff. I find, as I found with this, is that whether there's color or not, after a certain point, you don't think about it. It's just the film. I feel the same way about screen size, whether you're watching it on a big screen or a small screen. After a while, it doesn't really matter because you're just watching the film. And I think sometimes the black and white composition is really striking, and other times it's just not something you think about, and you're just watching the movie and the action's unfolding and stuff. There's some little funny bits, like they mention a couple of times about Helen Hunt's character having blue hair or a piece of blue hair, but you can't see it. So you don't actually that in black and white it doesn't work. So that whole idea of it, but that aside, it's not really an issue that's kind of drawing attention to something that's not there. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Trancers is a good movie, very much of its time. This is kind of peak B movie kind of period in the sort of mid 80s to late 80s. Trancers was kind of one of the leading franchises of video stores and stuff. This one was actually, Trancers was actually in cinemas, so back in the day, and you just wouldn't see that now. The series ended on a really sort of sour note with Trancers 6, which was very micro budget and didn't have Tim Thomerson. But Trancers 4 and 5, which were made back to back, they had a bit more going for them. There was a big gap between those ones and the final one. I don't know if there will be like a new Trancers film or something, but this was a good way to get Trancers back into circulation, get people talking about it again. The mixture of the sort of sci-fi, I never really understood, and I still really don't, what the Trancers are and how that works, because it's kind of zombie movie-ish kind of stuff happening with mind control. Anyway, they're sort of people are susceptible. He calls them squids. They get changed. But the film has a healthy sense of humor, good fun, interplays and action and stuff. So it's very much a leading film of its type from the period. And say this black and white version is a really interesting take on it. And if you like old school sci-fi and detective stories, I think you're really going to see what they were trying to go for with this. And I think to one degree or another it worked.
So I'm currently doing this Century of Cinema challenge on Blue Sky, and because I'm doing it chronologically, I've been watching a lot of black and white films because I've basically gone from 1925. I'm up to 1947 at the moment, and so a lot of what I've been watching recently is in black and white. So it kind of just sort of felt quite natural that that this would be as well. But the picture quality is very sharp.
Yeah.
The black and white really sort of comes to life in the scenes which are set at night. I found, I thought they made great use of like light and shadow and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So that all really worked. Yeah, no, I really like this. As I said, when I first saw it, I wasn't sure, but having watched Transers 2, which I really enjoyed first time round, so went back and rewatched Transers and got into it. But I think this, I did like the idea, especially listening to Charles Band talk about it and saying, yeah, we originally wanted it to be in black and white. And you can kind of see that in the framing and things as they do it. So yeah, this was damn good as far as I'm concerned. How are we going to score it, Steve?
Yeah, I'll give it a 7.
And Rich?
Yep, definitely a solid 7.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7. It's not a first time watch or anything, but the black and white does really work, and we will put a link to this in the footnotes because it's currently available on YouTube for nothing. Go check it out. Our short shot this week is going viral. After a promotional video for his dojo goes wrong, a sensei is beset by a YouTuber looking to make a name for himself. So this is from Art School Dropouts. Some guys who, we've covered a lot of their shorts before. They do some really good fight shorts. And I've long said, I would love to see something with a bit more narrative from them. And then here we are. This is them going with an actual narrative, and I did like this a lot. It is quite different from the stuff they've done. The fighting style is very different as well. But I enjoyed the humor of it. The person sort of videoing him at the beginning and going, "Oh, Sensei's making a speech." He's still going on. They keep cutting and sort of coming back to it. So yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Steve, what do you make of it?
Yeah, it's a bit throwaway for me. I don't really like the style of, Instagrammy and all that kind of thing.
Because you're old, mate. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't do. I've got an Instagram account. Never go on it. It just seemed a bit lightweight, and the YouTuber was just annoying. I mean, the bit where he pulls his shades off, he's got another pair underneath. I'm like,
That was funny.
Yeah, when he got into more the fighting, and when the YouTube shows up, and that's when it kind of got better for me. The first couple of minutes, I weren't too impressed on, but it got better after that, I must admit. So, yeah, it was okay.
It is a long walk to the the fighting, basically. It's a long walk to get to the destination.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got into it. I could see where they were coming from with it. But Rich, I mean, as I said, as I mentioned, Art School Dropouts we've come across quite a few times. How did you? Excuse me. How did you like this one?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think it's too much top and tail. Let's say. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, what's interesting about this one is it's kind of a promotional film for his martial arts school. Yeah. So for Nathan Porter's martial arts school, Rising Storm Academy, I think, and so he wants to give his pupils, the spotlight. So there's a lot, the lengthy opening credits, lengthy closing credits of showing what these guys can do. When it's not relevant at all to the plot, really.
That's another thing. I mean, I'll be honest, I was a bit confused whether it started or not. I thought it was, like YouTube, you get an advert.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I literally thought that's what it was at first.
Yeah, I think that was I think that was by design what they were trying to do there, and I think there's some interesting playfulness that they're doing. Say, as far as I could tell, there was no director actually credited on the film. It said it was made with the help with the Art School Dropouts. So I presume Joey Min and Stephanie Pham have either have directed and produced it with Nathan Porter. Whether one of other Joey Min tends to be the guy doing the directing, but I didn't want to. I don't want to presume. But as far as I could see, because I went through the credits a couple of times, I could not see a director by credit unless I blinked and missed it or something. Anyway, so it's longer than their usual stuff. They've worked with Nathan Porter a couple of times on a film called a couple of shorts. Rumble Riot was one.
That was already good.
Yeah, that was good fun. Very much sort of a Hong Kong style sort of comedy of errors kind of thing happening there. And Status Retired, which was comical, but comic in conceit, but it's say much more of a serious sort of little short, if I remember correctly. More a bit darker. Got I think Nick Ball was trying to play a darker character, so I do need to rewatch that because I haven't seen it for a while. But I think Nathan Porter's got this kind of likable quality about him. There's an element because it's set in the dojo and everything kind of made me think of Bren Foster and Life After Fighting, although I haven't seen that film yet. But he's kind of got that same sort of presence. I mean, Bren Foster's Australian, but it seemed like a similar type.
He's really good, actually. Yeah, I really did like his presence in this. He did sort of come across as, someone who, I don't know, a little bit out of touch, but at the same time quite earnest about, and wants to sort of keep his dojo honest, as it were. His integrity basically is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So the guy who's the antagonist, the social media influencer who comes in and does the version of the airplane Robert Stack joke where he takes the glasses off twice, or takes the glasses off and he's got other glasses on underneath. So that's Jose Manuel, who's a really, really good martial artist. I was waiting for the two to fight, and it just doesn't happen. So the film sort of does a bit of misdirection there, and he actually fights the two bodyguards. And I confess I was a bit disappointed that it was a non-fighting role for Jose Manuel, but because we've seen him in quite a few things, including Bobby Samuel's film, Juan Fuego,
right,
which was the 40-minute one. He was one of the. It was like him and a woman were fighting Bobby Samuels, and they had knives and stuff. It was a really good scene. Anyway, he's done loads of other stuff, including Man from Kathmandu, which was a film he starred in. And
I know that one. It's
I'm pretty sure
fire is what you're saying, that was the
yeah. But they released it with the Spanish title. So unless I'm thinking of the wrong guy, I'm pretty sure that's him. So do forgive me if I'm getting anything wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's who I was thinking. Anyway, good guy. But the fight is good, he fights it. But I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it never dropped, And then so the film finishes. Say it is a narrative film, so we got like some character development and stuff happening. We got the centerpiece fight, and then it kind of ends at about the 15-16 minute mark, and then we got like another 4 minutes of outtakes, credit, footage of the fight. And I just really didn't need all that. I know it, but that's why I say I think it's a promotional film. It's a showcase. It's not just a short action thing just to satisfy. He's really trying to sell the academy and stuff, which is fair enough. I mean, he's trying to showcase what his school actually does, which is it's an inventive way to do a promotional film and sort of get people talking about it and try to go viral with it. So interesting idea. And the Art School Dropouts are aces at this kind of stuff. So that's a good partnership. They've done 3 films together. I think it's 3 so far, and they've all been really diverse and interesting projects. And hopefully we'll see more. I'd like to see Nathan Porter do another sort of darker character, see what he does with that again. And not much more to say. It's worth checking out, I'd say.
Absolutely. So we don't score the shorts, but we do recommend you check them out, and we shall put a link in the footnotes below. So go check it out. Our DTV throwback this week is New York Ninja. After his wife is murdered by a street gang, John Liu relies on his martial arts training and ninja skills to get revenge on the scum who killed her. Interesting film, this one, guys, in that it was shot way back in the 80s. Not exactly completed, been sitting in various places ever since, and was originally restored, remastered. The soundtrack and all the dialogue was re-recorded. They got Don the Dragon Wilson to record the voice for John Liu. We've also got involvement by Cynthia Rothrock and Linnea Quigley in there as well. And it's a real snapshot of, I want to say, sort of like Michael Winner era New York. It is incredibly sleazy. It really is. It's an incredibly sleazy film in that, if you're a woman, you've got to get raped almost twice a day by if you happen to sort of wander down the wrong street. But yeah, it is a lot of fun. There's a great moment when John's with his co, because he's part of a news crew, and sort of the cameraman and sort of female assistant is watching these two women getting attacked, and they're like, "Oh, the horror! Oh no!" And he's like, he's already gone, "Oh, I'm just going to get something to eat," and just disappears, and then comes back exactly the the moment when everything's done and dusted. It's really, really funny. It's very much like sort of Superman kind of scenario with Clark Kent. It's good fun. Yeah, it's a lively film for sure. But I don't know, Steve, what did you make of this?
It's not as fun as, say, something like, Samurai Cop or something like that. I know it's got that kind of element, where it's dirt cheap and it's been found years later and finished and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a bit weird and a bit dour. Even the fighting isn't great, I'll be honest. And I just didn't have as much fun with this as we have with some of the other type films that we've done like this. I found it a bit boring, to be honest. And also the bit with the what was it, nuclear killer or whatever he's called.
That was just weird. That was just such a weird insult. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah, it was just a bit weird. That bit. What was it? Plutonium killer, that was it. And I know that was maybe, kind of why the women were getting kidnapped and blah, blah, blah. But I just thought it was a bit boring, this one. Really didn't connect with it.
Okay. Not boring is not a word I would use to describe this film. Rich, I mean, we saw this a few years ago now at the Fighting Spirit Film Festival. We went down
2022 on the big screen.
Big screen in 2022. Second watch, what did you think?
Yeah, I liked it then, and I still like it. I think the fact, I mean, it took a really long time to get out release in the UK. We were so lucky to get to see it at the Fighting Spirit, say on the big screen, get that unique experience. It recently, probably around last year, must have turned up on Tubi. It's as far as I know, it was put together by Vinegar Syndrome, and so it's quite a lavish release in the United States, but that never sort of translated over here. What's interesting about it is it's a film that's definitely got the tongue in its cheek. In terms of it's been assembled. They didn't have a script or anything. Like you say, they only had the raw footage with no soundtrack.
That's right. They didn't have the original script or anything.
Nothing to go on. So they had to put it together. And I think they've done a really good job of making it the film it was supposed to be, as close as possible. They've embellished a little bit of the humor maybe, but not much. I think a lot of the humor organically comes out of what was there in the first place. So it is this almost intentionally bad, because they say there's some. It's a crazy mix of all this stuff, but that was what it was. That was what it was, designed to be. It's kind of like it is in a way very similar to like In Tenebras and whatever. It's quite an earnest production that's kind of deeply flawed, but it's kind of really entertaining on the back of that. Well, the fact that we've got Don the Dragon Wilson, these elements kind of sell it. They up the cult factor of wanting to watch it now. But it's not like comical that it's Don the Dragon Wilson. It's just if you know, and you get something out of that. But it doesn't matter really. It could be anyone. But it's a novelty. And say Cynthia Rothrock's in there, and a whole bunch of Michael Berryman, a whole bunch of people. And but what was there originally was what John Liu was originally trying to create. And I haven't seen. I mean, he made a whole bunch of other stuff. So several of them are. He was trying to make films where he's the star and whatever. And the New York Ninja idea and the concept or whatever, everything that's funny about the film is in that footage that they've worked with. It's not that they've added onto it. It's all the crazy stuff with the plutonium killer. They've really tried to make that make sense in some way, but it really doesn't. And then you got all the other stuff where the overacting, like when John Liu's character, has a bereavement or whatever, and he's like, why has this happened? Don Wilson is working with that footage. He's not making it funny because the humor just comes out of that. I mean, it's so overacted and not skillfully so. And then there's stuff in the action sequences, like the character is roller skating.
The roller skating bit, yeah.
And then he does a jump, and then the roller skates disappear, and then they're back again. And that's all great. I mean, it's very nice. It's very, but some of it's opens with a shot of the Twin Towers, if I recall correctly. Is that the opening shot?
I think so.
Twin Towers.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but it's very much trying to set a time and place. And I think they've added like a little scroll at the beginning. Things were bad, and it's kind of comical, but then after that it's kind of just lets itself run its course. It's good fun. I mean, it's such a weird mix. The whole thing with the rat tail guy and his the chauffeur with his rat tail and his sword, that whole sequence is brilliant. There's so much fun. There's so much craziness in the film that I think it rewards both people who are sort of looking for something a bit snarky, so they want to laugh at the 1980s kind of stuff, but there's also a lot for people who are very affectionate for that period to enjoy as well. The people who've enjoyed all the canon, we were talking about Avenging Force and that recently, the sort of the stuff that people were doing in the 1980s that is just not done anymore, for good or bad. Some of it is just like, we've moved on, we've grown up a bit, we don't do some of that stuff anymore, but it was very prevalent in the 80s. And then there's other stuff of like, oh yeah, it's like, we want some of that craziness that we don't, the whole mixing in nuclear stuff with vigilante plots and as weird sort of stuff, because this was whole body horror and stuff was very popular at the time, and they're just kind of, it's a melting pot of all these different ideas. Well worth checking out. I say I haven't gone on and watched any of John Liu's other films, but I really should. But it'd be really interesting to compare what one of his productions where he actually controlled it from beginning to end, actually how it compares to this work, which was, say, finished off by Curtis Spieler at Vinegar Syndrome. Poured his heart and soul into, I mean, he's an editor as well. So, the fact that, I mean, it's monumental what he did really with putting this together and making it mostly comprehensible and
Mm.
very, very entertaining.
It's so this was originally shot around about 1984. The likes
Yes.
of The Exterminator with Robert Ginty came out in 1981. Death Wish 2 came out in 82. That wasn't set in New York though, was it? Death Wish 2. Or was it? Can't remember. Anyway, yeah. Well, the point I was trying to make is that the way New York is portrayed on screen around that sort of period, it was a Donald Trump wet dream basically. It's like it's full of gangs. You can't walk the streets, all this sort of shit.
That's what they were all doing it though, weren't they? Right up until the end.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was. What is it? Rudolph till after the sort of Rudolph Giuliani period and all that sort of stuff.
He did actually sort of clean up the streets a lot. I mean, it helped. They did do a lot, sort of leading up to 9/11 and that. But at the time, the 80s, sort of New York was sort of seen as the gutter, basically. And films like this, the series was it the Equalizer, the Edward Woodward version. The credits, the credit sequence of that series was scary as shit. You wouldn't leave the house if you lived in New York at the time.
And it's all punctuated with that. It's like a warning sign, isn't it? It's like don't go here.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what it comes across here is that sort of most people are just helpless against all the crime, whether it's people sort of kidnapping white women for crazy experiments, or the thugs sort of stabbing people on the streets. It's all there. The part of the film which dated it, or put it in a particular time and place for me the most was the Statue of Liberty covered in scaffolding. Did you spot that? Because immediately I saw that and I just thought Remo Williams. Immediately. Just immediately it's like, oh, Remo Williams, because of this statue, because that great fight sequence he has on there.
And that was again around the same period, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it had to be, because that's when they were sort of renovating it. But there you go. Right, okay, so that is New York Ninja. We found it on Tubi. Is it Tubi? Yeah.
Yep.
Get confused between Tubi and Mubi. But yeah, Tubi. You'll find this. It looks great. It's been very well polished, put together. If you like, let's face it, if you like that sort of bad dubbed sort of films, it's a lot of fun, and definitely a snapshot in time.
A little bit of a sidebar before we sign off. I was just interested in what you guys thought in terms of the amount of commercials and stuff when you were watching this on Tubi and when you were watching TRANSERS NOIR on YouTube. Did you get a lot? And did you find them particularly intrusive in their positions? No,
I mean, I didn't notice. I must admit, I didn't actually notice many ads in TRANSERS when I was watching it. Tubi, there were a few, but they were very short.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, the funny thing is, we were watching the X-Files. Me and my son are watching the X-Files on Channel 4 or on more, the streaming version of Channel 4, and it's very interesting. They mistimed the adverts, the advert breaks.
Oh, how annoying!
You know what I mean? So you get an advert break, which happens probably about 2 or 3 seconds before the natural break in the program.
Gosh.
When the scene ends and then you get that black, so it fades to black and then carries on. That's where it's supposed to fit. It doesn't. It's very annoying. Another weird thing. I mean, it's just completely off topic now, but what we find with some of the stuff on Channel 4, in particular, is that it's almost like they're recording over the original adverts.
Right.
So there's been a number of occasions where we're watching something and an advert will start and suddenly it'll switch to another advert. You know, be an advert for, I don't know, Essos or something, and then suddenly like there'll be an advert for Kinder Bueno over the top of it. You know, it's like they're just taking the whole recording, including the adverts, and then just putting more adverts on top. Very strange, but there you go. That's the state of UK streaming services. Okay, so that is the end of this week's show. Thanks, guys, for covering these ones. I'm so glad you two watched In Tenebras. I was worried. Yeah. I was worried I'd given the game away. You were going to go, maybe I won't watch that one.
I'm really glad I didn't miss it. So I was so close to skipping it, and I was just like,
I'm glad you got something out of it.
I did, yeah, I really, really did. I think I'm fascinated. I just want to do a deep dive on that film. I just want to find out more about this guy who made it. So it's crazy.
There's weird actors they got in it. Okay. Yeah. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and X and Blue Sky at the DTV Digest. Also, the Short Shots. We are putting together a new episode of the Short Shots. I've got a whole plethora of shorts that Richard sent me to wade through, and we shall start putting together some new episodes for there. Other than that, thank you for listening. Tune in next time.
Thank you for listening to the DTV Digest. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and tune in again next time.